Second episode of the day, and I wanted to talk about the situation of the 21 kids that passed away in a party celebrating their results according to what I've seen out there. Now, if you don't know what I'm talking about, it's a story that happened in South Africa in a particular tavern. A tavern is kind of like a lower thingy from a club. It's not a cheaper version of a club. And so there's a couple of pointers that I want to point back to. So first of all, being two particular clips of young people who were at the event. Then I'm gonna take us who are a little bit older. I'll see 2000. You're not part of AMA 2000 trips back in school when we were in primary. You might remember this particular thing that I want to highlight too. But also, if you're a young person, someone forwarded you this video, whether an adult or so forth, I need you to give me an ear for 5 minutes or so. I won't take too much of your time. Let's start first with a video of a young lady who was inside. They were trying to get out, but the gate was closed, as she's describing this chaos that was arising as they were in there. But that's not the only thing that was happening. There was a video that I might not play the first one, but the second one I will definitely have to play.
And bengavalwa mos ngokumuntu ngokuchazwa iba abantu bayasweleka phakathi bengavalwa aba ngaphakathi beqhutshwa ebosela.
They are under the influence, and the only thing that comes to their mind is to continue partying. They are seeing people dropping dead. That's what she's saying. See what young people nowadays have to deal with. Now, not just that, I want to then refer back to us, the older little bit generation. Yeah, when we would go to school excursions or trips, or as you might call them, we used to buy what do they call it? Appetizer. And with the perception that appetizer had some form of alcohol because of how it looks. We used to have that perception, and we would drink it, and then people would pretend to get drunk, all over, falling on top of each other, what nots and what. And when we get to school tomorrow, that's the conversation. Hey, this one was drunk. You know, we did that, but it never clicked in the back of our mind that why would the school allow us to buy this thing if it's alcohol? It never clicked in our mind, okay, because they allowed us to play, to drink it. And so what we were doing back then in the 90s, in the early 2000s, right? What we were doing then, the kids nowadays have it in abundance. Now, what makes it more worse is that the businesses that are out there nowadays, they have a need to push their brand and profit chase. And as a result of that, they will sell to kids. Like this particular club. You see kids all over in the club. Not the subject of this video, but you see kids all over the place. Now, another thing which is a very glaring image in this particular whole scene is that the kids nowadays, you guys who are out there in your teenage years, you have a lot to deal with, because what we were playing out, you guys can just go out there and do. We played like we were drunk. We never actually drank. Never did we ever drink. But we played like it. We acted like it. We buy appetizer. We thought it had alcohol in it. We used to perceive it that way. But we never actually got to do that. But you guys are doing it exactly. Now, another angle of this particular subject, speaking of the adults, the older generation, it's not because we didn't have social media also. Social media is not the subject here. Social media has just done something else. And what social media has allowed is that it has allowed young people to see the older generation's perception of adulthood. And I want to address this one very clear, okay? We can have this conversation, guys. It's just a thought that I'm having. The perception of adulthood that these kids are seeing. When they're looking back, I remember my brother-in-law taking issues with somebody from his family and saying, why are you posting pictures of you while you're drinking? I remember this was way back. And it wasn't that he doesn't drink. He was having issues with him, particularly for why are you even posting that out there? Knowing that you might be an influential person and other kids might see you. Kids, meaning your little nieces and so forth. They might see you with that alcohol. Not that you don't drink, you drink. But why do you want them to see you like that on social media? And now, my brother-in-law's statement sticks out in the situation. Because why? If you think of it, these kids now perceive alcohol as coming into adulthood. Now, you might be that young person that I'm talking about. You're perceiving drinking alcohol because you see all these people, they go to work, they say, they just need one so that they can relax. You have now associated in your mind drinking with coming into adulthood. And it is a misconception because what they don't tell you is that has its addictions. That alcohol, that smoking, that whatever it is you're looking at out there, that makes you think, as I embrace adulthood, this is some of the things that I go towards. They don't tell you that those things carry addictions with them. So young people are seeing what we were seeing, but now they have something else that actually pushes it forward for them. Social media allows them, they see people who are celebrating, they see alcohol. They see people who are maturing back in their house, that alcohol. They see parties, they see celebration, they see alcohol. Everywhere you go where they see alcohol. So what has it done? It has impressed upon them the mind that alcohol means coming into adulthood. That's the kind of a framing of where we are right now. What we were playing back then, they now have it amplified. And people see these young people and think, oh yeah, their parents are just not there. No, it has nothing to do with parents not being there. I was raised in a very well-off family, in a very straight-up family, not well-off, we're not rich. I was raised in a family where I was raised by women. My dad was not there, but I never felt the absence of my father. Never. I've talked about that previously. My granny, my aunties, these people did a great job. I never even realized my dad was not there. It was like, oh, he lives there. Okay. That was it. I never realized it. And so that was not the situation. And even when I came to Joburg, I always had adults next to me. My uncle was there. My cousins, my older cousins were there. There was always an adult around me. So that was not the case. It wasn't that I didn't have guidance. No. It was not that. That was not the case. But the influences outside was the reason for which I would get involved in those. When I started drinking, it had nothing to do with thinking. I was not even fascinated by it. I'm talking about me. I was not even fascinated with alcohol. But a girl put a bottle on my mouth. Ha! In Tombo. Tombo said, here, taste. Oh, you don't like Castle Light? No, don't worry, this one is sweeter. Hey, the influences outside were the ones that actually caused that to actually happen. I did quit. I was like, hey, I don't like this thing because it makes you weird. You understand? But that was the decision that I saw it when I was there. I was like, why am I drinking? For what? It's not just the parents. Okay, but also remember that there's also the influences outside. Yes, we're trying to raise those kids in the right path, but do remember that there is so many influences that they are dealing with. You have to warn them at every level of these influences, because they might learn something. I saw one particular picture. It was such a sad picture of this young lady. She was getting ready. She was going to this event. They took a picture of her. And I sadly had to see a picture of her while she was in that tavern when she was now dead. It is such a sad thing to think that child might have been an innocent child. She decided that one day, today. And that's how people, that's what we call mistakes. Is that you thought maybe just today, let me just do something, just today only. And that today ends up in this kind of a tragedy. And bear in mind, I'm from the village. Back in the village, you didn't drink when you were young. You didn't have influential friends who were drinking. No, there was not such a thing in my village. So why did we want to do that back in the village? It was just a perception of coming into adulthood. And so these kids have to learn other values. These kids are seeing alcohol as coming into maturity. They are seeing umjolo as coming into maturity. So we need the right influences towards these kids that point them into the right direction of what does it mean to truly come into maturity. It's not drinking alcohol. It's not going to the club. That does not mean embracing maturity. Embracing your maturity or your adulthood, it has nothing to do with that. It's being a responsible young person, knowing very well that you tomorrow are the one who is going to be influential back to the next generation. You'll not see me in the club. And you have videos from back. No, yeah, back then, yeah, but you will not see me now. And you will not see me sitting with a bottle in front of me. No, I have no business with that. That's not the influence that I want to give. Do I drink? That's not the influence I want to give. Do I smoke? I don't want to give that influence. Not today, not tomorrow, not a hardly, nothing. I have no such an influence that I want to give. I will never take a cinematic picture of me with smoke. I'm not doing that. Why? That's not the impression that I want to give of maturity or coming into maturity. I don't want the young people to learn that, not from me. They can learn it from you. No, but not from me. I refuse. Because if they have that as their perception of coming or embracing maturity, you can see what it influences them towards. It influences them into all this havoc, all this mess that we are now seeing out there. That was the sad part of it, is that we did these things ourselves when we were young, but we perceived maturity in a certain way, the same way that they still do. It's just that theirs is amplified. Theirs is amplified with social media. That's all they see. When they see you successful, that's what they see. They see you in the clubs. They see you doing all these things. So guess what? These kids have the perception of coming into maturity, which is what? Being drunk, drinking alcohol, hubbling yourself. That's the perception that they carry. And because they carry that perception and you are peddling that perception, congratulations. Bear that in mind. There is a way you are influencing it. And we're not even talking about should people drink. We're not even talking about that. But these kids are now starting to take on that image of being or embracing maturity means this. And unfortunately, you can see how it's ending up for them. That's the most heartbreaking part of this, is that, yes, we can tell the kids, don't do this. Then the next thing they see is you looking cool with your, with your flame, with your hubbly smoke. You are there photographed nicely. The cameras nowadays, they will capture you. Cameras, they will capture you nicely. The kids see that and they think, wow, this is what maturity means. This is what it means to embrace adulthood. This is what it's like to display. This is how I display that I'm matured. And that's the most heartbreaking. I had this thought in the morning. It just came to me. Because at first I was just going about seeing the story and everything, until this thought just haunted me in the morning. I was like, wow,